Hello friends. Welcome to the Phonics What If. How are you all? So in this video, we will see what if Ichigo fell in love with ASAKURA in Bleach World. But before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video. It started out like any other day, wearing his white dress shirt open with green pants and sandals with his orange headphones behind his ears, was relaxing under the shade of a tree while Morty wore a white dress shirt button all the way with green pants and running shoes, sat next to him reading his Morty's book on everything, and Amidamaru floated nearby looking out at the horizon. "Isn't today a great day to relax?" Yo said as he stretched his arms out. "A nice, warm summer's day and there isn't a single cloud in sight. This day just can't get any better." Yo sat up and touched his toes with his hands and then crackled his back. He then stood up and sighed. "Hey Yo," Morty called out to get Yo's attention. "Aren't you supposed to be training?" Yo faced his little friend who was looking up at him sitting under the shade of the tree with his book open. "Won't Anna get mad if she sees you slacking off, again?" Yo scratched the back of his head with a goofy smile on his face. "Yay, but what she doesn't know won't hurt her, right?" Yo said with a slight laugh at the end. "Or help you become Shaman King," an angry sound female voice said from behind Yo. Yo was stunned for a moment and hesitated as he slowly turned around. "So you think you can slack off? For that I'm going to triple your training." Yo's knees were shaking as he faced a girl with shoulder-length, blonde hair wearing a black, simple dress, sandals, pearls around her neck and a red scarf on her head. The girl had her arms crossed and a pissed-off expression. "But Anna," Yo whined. "I'm tired, can't I have just one day off?" He got down on his knees in front of her and begged while giving her puppy dog eyes. Morty and Amidamaru were almost sympathetic until Yo resorted to begging. "If you have any hope of becoming Shaman King, you won't even think of having even an hour off," Anna growled. "And you are going to become Shaman King because I'm going to become the First Lady, you got that?" Anna's expression scared the three males as she yelled at Yo. "Here," she said, dropping two wristbands in front of Yo that each created a hole in the ground 5 inches deep. "You are to run home and then back home with these on your ankles at all times." "Do I really have to wear those?" Yo groaned. Anna glared at him and he quickly put them around each ankle. Yo struggled as he tried to get up. "How am I supposed to run with these? I can barely stand up," he complained. "That isn't any of my concern," Anna said emotionlessly. "My concern is that you run home, then back here and then back home. Come on Morty. You will start cooking dinner while Amidamaru makes sure Yo doesn't die while running." Anna then walked off toward the inn, which was their home for the time being. Morty closed his book and carried it as he started to follow Anna. "Good luck," he yelled toward Yo before chasing after Anna. "I guess I should start running now," Yo sighed as he thought out loud. He started to move his legs and after moving 2 yards he started to sweat. But then again, he started to contradict himself. "I could just relax a bit longer until I'm good and ready to go." "You better start running now, Yo," Anna screamed. How'd she hear that? Yo wondered aloud. He looked over at Amidamaru who just shrugged his shoulders. "I think she's out to get me," Yo groaned. "Well, I guess I'm good and ready. Let's get going, Amidamaru." Yo tried moving his legs and was barely able to lift his feet high enough to not drag them. "Lord Yo," Amidamaru spoke up as he floated in front of Yo. "I think you should lift your legs higher up." Yo sighed heavily and lifted his right leg with the help of his hands. The weight was too much of his upper body to handle and Yo ended up fall face first due to the weight. "Lord Yo, are you all right?" Amidamaru asked with much concern. Yo lifted up his head and spit out dirt and grass from his mouth. "Yay, I'm fine," Yo assured his spirit partner as he slowly wobbled back onto his feet once more. "Now I definitely know Anna has it out for me," Yo said, tired once more to lift his right leg but not as high as he did before, which worked because he didn't fall. He did the same with his left foot and continued doing this until he reached the city. His legs got used to the weights so he tried to run and almost collapsed. Instead he stopped and rested his hand on his knees and tried to catch his breath. "She is going to kill me with training like this," Yo complained looking over his shoulders at Amidamaru. "I'm sure Lady Anna has her reasons on putting you through this training," Amidamaru said with an unsure expression. Yo sighed once more and continued to run at a slow pace, and as he got closer to the inn he got faster. "Anna!" Yo yelled as he approached the front door. I made it here. Can I please take these weights off? The front door then slammed open and freaked out both Amidamaru and Yo. Did you return to that tree and come back? She asked coldly. Yo thought over what he was going to tell her. If I lie to her, she will chase me with a knife until I ran at full speed, Yo thought in his mind. And if I told the truth I would to double the work. You decided to slowly back away and as quickly as he could run back to the tree. She is going to kill me before the Shaman King tournament even begins, Yo muttered. Morty was in the kitchen cooking dinner with an apron on. He listened to the tone Anna gave Yo and watched Yo run past the kitchen window. I know how you feel, Yo, Morty said as tears trailed down his face. He quickly whipped them away and continued cooking before Anna worked him even harder. When Yo finally reached the same tree as before, he leaned against it as he tried to catch his breath. You're doing great, Lord Yo, Amidamaru cheered. All you need to do now is go back to the Inn and you will be done. Yo looked at Amidamaru and saw a smile and Yo started to gain more self-confidence. You're right, Amidamaru, Yo said and stood up straight. I can finish this run and then I can have dinner. The thought of food got Yo to run even faster and Amidamaru floated right behind him the whole way. Before Yo entered through the gates of the inn, he stopped and quickly hid behind the fence and peeked up to see what was going on. Amidamaru did the same thing. They heard Anna yelling at someone but they saw Morty still the kitchen and Anna's voice was coming from the side yard. Who are you and why are you here? Anna demanded to know as she stared at the guest. You can see me, the guest said with a surprised tone. Yo slowly approached Anna and the guest. As he got closer he saw the guest was a guy with orange hair in black kimono and flip-flop, looking sandals over white socks with a sword on his back. Anna then glared at Yo who stood behind the guest which caused Yo to froze and gulp. Hi Anna, what's up? He nervously stuttered. The guest turned to look at Yo and Amidamaru as he appeared by Yo's side. Don't, what's up, me? Anna snapped. This guy won't answer my questions, she growled and pointed at their guest. What guy? Yo said playing dumb as he slowly made his way toward the door of the inn. I don't see any guy. Morty came out from the door that connected the side yard to the kitchen. You can't see who? Morty asked and saw the orange-haired guest. You mean that guy with the orange hair and the sword? Anna started to growl and clenched her fists. Yo quickly reacted. Oh, you mean that guy, he nervously said. Yeah, I can see him. Yo then walked up to their mystery guest and stuck out his hand and smiled. Hi, I'm Yo ASAKURA, who are you? The mystery guest was confused for a second and then shook Yo's hand. I'm Ichigo Kurosaki, he replied. Yo stopped shaking his hand and put his hands behind his head. So what brings you here, Ichigo? He asked. I've come for him, Ichigo said pointing at Amidamaru. It is my job as a Soul Reaper. Morty quickly went into the house and back out with his Morty's book on everything, and started search for Soul Reaper. Here it is, Soul Reaper, Morty said and began reading the definition out loud. A spirit with spiritual energy, able to cast spells and send souls to a place called Soul Society, see page 2382. Soul Reapers also slay evil forces called Hollows, see page 902. Soul Reaper can only be hurt by a special sword, otherwise they are untouchable. Wow, how did know that book have information on a Soul Reaper, Ichigo said looking over Morty's shoulder. Morty fell forward in shock that Ichigo was behind without him noticing. Ichigo took Morty's book and flipped through the pages. I wonder what else this book has, Ichigo muttered to himself. So you plan to send Amidamaru to the place called Soul Society, Yo clarified. Basically, Ichigo said and looked up from the book, as well as all the other spirits in this inn. Amidamaru floated beside Yo and whispered into his ear, Lord Yo, what should we do? If you want to send Amidamaru to Soul Society, Yo said in a low tone and glared at Ichigo. You'll have to get through me first. Ichigo handed Morty his book and walked towards Yo. You do know you can't hurt me, Ichigo reminded him. What makes you think you can stop me? You're underestimating your opponent, Yo said in the same low tone. I am a shaman and I was able to shake your hand. Ichigo remembered and a shocked expression appeared on his face. Let's go, Amidamaru, Yo commanded. Amidamaru transformed into a spirit flame in Yo's hand. Yo pushed Amidamaru's spirit into his chest as he shouted, Integrate. Ichigo watched in awe as Yo lifted his head after the integration, but Ichigo saw Amidamaru within Yo's body. I shall not let you take me away from Lord Yo, Amidamaru said through Yo. Morty tossed Amidamaru the only sword around. Too bad it was a wooden sword. Amidamaru grabbed the sword and looked over at Morty. I thank you Lord Morty, Amidamaru said and forced Yo's body into his fighting pose. Whenever you're ready, Soul Reaper, Amidamaru said. Ichigo sighed heavily and took out his sword. Well, technically it was a Zanpakuto, so we'll go with that. His Zanpakuto had a large blade with a hilt and guard. Looks like I have to settle this the hard way, he groaned as he stood his fighting pose. It won't be my fault if the shaman dies. Amidamaru had Yo charge at Ichigo, who charged back. Who do you think is going to win? Anna, Morty asked as Anna walked towards him, not looking away from the two fighting. Rukia, Ichigo yelled at the person on the roof. What are you doing here? The person jumped down from the roof landing in front of Ichigo. When they stood up, Yo, Morty and Anna realized it was a female. She had short black-blue hair and was dressed in a white, button-up blouse with a gray miniskirt, and knee-high black socks under brown dress shoes. Ichigo, I thought I told you that you can't just go killing people, she growled with her arms crossed over her chest. Don't you remember when we first met? Yay, I remember, Ichigo said as he remembered the day he first met Rukia and that she could have killed him if it were for the fact that she needed authorization to do so. He put his Zanpakuto away and Amidamaru left Yo's body. I can't fight you, but I still have to send the spirits away to Soul Society before they turn to hollows. It's my duty as a Soul Reaper. Actually Ichigo, Rukia said, you're only a substitute Soul Reaper, remember? I'm still a Soul Reaper, nonetheless, Ichigo yelled at her. Whatever, Rukia growled. Even as a substitute Soul Reaper you should have known about the Shaman race just like you recently learned about the Quincy race. Rukia glared at Ichigo with a serious expression. Rukia changed her attention to Morty and Anna. Is it all right if we continue this conversation inside? She asked the two. Anna nodded and led everyone into the inn dining hall. Morty headed towards the kitchen to grab dinner and served it. Unfortunately he only made enough for three, which ended up being Anna, Rukia, and himself. Ichigo wasn't hungry. Amidamaru was a spirit and Yo had to suffer for lying to Anna. I was told this problem between Soul Reaper and Shamans was settled with 1,000 years ago, Anna said as she ate. It was, Rukia said after she swallowed. Soul Reapers are to stay at least 500 meters away from any shaman unless given direct orders by a captain of the Gote 13. Rukia basically then inhaled the food Morty made. This is good, she said with food still in her mouth. She swallowed the food in her mouth then suddenly burped. Excuse me, she muttered blushing slightly. As you probably know, shamans use ghosts as partners, but the job of a Soul Reaper is to send ghosts to Soul Society. As you said, 1,000 years ago the shamans got tired of their partners being sent to Soul Society and decided to do something about it. They called a meeting between the head shamans and the Gote 13. The Gote 13 agreed to force their Soul Reaper to learn to sense a shaman's presences so that no partners were sent to Soul Society. Rukia then glared at Ichigo. This is why I wanted you to wait for my order to go, because as substitute Soul Reaper, you are not likely to sense the presences of a shaman like I can, she growled at him. Ichigo groaned and turned his back towards her. Yo scooted closer towards him. Don't worry, he whispered in Ichigo's ear. I get yelled at worse by Anna. What was that, Yo? Anna growled, not even looking at him. Yo was freaked out. I said that I get so worried about you, he nervously said. Anna looked dead into his eyes with anger. Yo ASAKURA, she growled. You are the saddest liar to walk this planet. I think 600 push-ups along with 700 sit-ups will fix your lying. Yo dragged himself to an open area in the dining hall. You don't have all day, you know, Anna pointed out, and Yo started to whimper and laid down and started to work on the push-ups. I want to hear you counting, Anna ordered, and Yo responded with a groan. 1, 2, 3, 4, Yo counted as Anna and Rukia continued their conversation. We're sorry for interrupting your training. Rukia stood up as she apologized for her and Ichigo. It will not happen again, right Ichigo? Ichigo looked at Rukia as she evilly glared at him and gulped and stood up as well. I'm sorry, he said as he bowed toward Anna. Until now I never heard of shamans, but now that I know, this misunderstanding will never happen again. Anna crossed her arms and looked down. Morty and Amidamaru saw a smile appear of Anna's face and knew something bad was going to happen. I think you should be punished for breaking the Shaman and Soul Reaper agreement, Anna coldly said to Ichigo. You can start by sending all the ghosts, except Amidamaru of course, to the afterlife. Ichigo dragged himself and groaned as he worked on sending the ghosts to Soul Society. First I come here to send the ghosts to Soul Society, Ichigo muttered as he sent ghosts away one by one. Then I'm told I can't and now I'm doing what I came to do in the first place. You know, it isn't a good sign when you start talking to yourself, Morty said from behind Ichigo. Ichigo freaked out and jumped into the air and landed on his butt facing Morty. Especially when there's really no one around to listen to you, Morty finished saying as he helped Ichigo up on his feet. You shouldn't do that, Ichigo yelled as he dusted himself off. So eventually I will be the only ghost here, Amidamaru said appearing behind Ichigo. Ichigo once again jumped into the air and landed on his butt. What is wrong with everyone here? Ichigo yelled getting up on his feet on his own. Do you all enjoy scaring me by appearing out of nowhere behind me? First Shorty here does it then you, he said pointing at Amidamaru. My name is Morty, Morty corrected him and crossed his arms. Not Shorty, got it? Ichigo ignored Morty and continued sending the ghosts to Soul Society. Will you two just let me do my job, he said not even facing them. There are tons of ghosts here that need to head to Soul Society before they turn to hollows and it is going to take a while. He then looked over his shoulder. Why don't you save your shaman friend from that crazy blonde? Morty and Amidamaru huffed and headed back to the dining hall and sat beside Yo. Hey, 53. Morty, Yo grunted as he pushed himself up. 54. What's 55, up? I don't understand this situation, Morty told Yo as Yo continued to count. First we were told that Soul Reapers are not allowed 500 meters within a shaman and they are not allowed to send souls to that Soul Society place that are near shamans. Why Anna is having the Soul Reaper sending all the other souls to Soul Society and why does the Rukia girl know more about Soul Reaper than Ichigo? Yo looked over toward Anna and Rukia and noticed they were busy in their conversation. He motioned Morty and Amidamaru to follow him and he led to the front yard. The three of them quickly got far away from the inn. I can't stand her intense training, Yo complained as he put his hands behind his head. I swear she is the meanest girl, no person, ever to walk this planet. Yo led Morty and Amidamaru to the nearby graveyard. Yo sat under the only tree there and leaned against it. Morty sat beside him and also leaned against the tree while Amidamaru floated in front of them sitting. Yo stared up at the night sky and Morty and Amidamaru did the same. To answer your questions Morty, Yo said. Morty looked at him but Yo still stared up at the sky. Anna is just plain old complicated person and I gave up years ago on trying to figure her out. The one thing I know for sure about her though is when she changes her mind she'll want that change to happen immediately. As for that Rukia lady knowing more than Ichigo I know that too. She was telling Anna as I did my push-ups that she meant to transfer a little bit of her powers to Ichigo but because of his high spiritual awareness he obtained all her powers. Now she has to teach Ichigo everything about being a Soul Reaper until her powers return, or something along those lines. Yo looked over at Morty with his goofy smile and laughed a little. A nice cool breeze blew but Yo noticed that the tree's leaves didn't rustle. Yo looked towards the direction the breeze came from and noticed the silhouettes of two men standing close by. When Morty saw the two people he got shivers up his spine. Yo stood up and faced the two men as they approached them. As they got closer, Yo noticed something familiar about them. Morty, Yo whispered and Morty stood up, go get Anna. Morty gulped and dashed back to the inn. Right as Morty reached the graveyard entrance he noticed Anna and Rukia entering. Yo sensed Anna's presences and looked at her and she gave him an evil glare and Yo's legs started to shake a little. Morty stood next to Anna and watched him glare at him. Go keep Ichigo busy, Anna ordered Morty. Morty looked at Anna then at Yo then back at Anna and nodded. He left for the inn and ran as fast as his little legs could take him. He sure is one weird fellow, one of the two men said to the other who just stood there without saying a word. Rukia stepped in front of Yo and Amidamaru. What are you two doing here? Rukia demanded to know from the two. You of all people should know why we're here, the same man that spoke before said. We heard you gave all your powers to a human which would explain you not being able to return when you were supposed to. In short, we're here to bring you back to Soul Society and take care of the human you gave your powers to. Anna approached Yo and noticed his confused expression. So you decided to skip your push-ups and sit-ups to fight more Soul Reapers, she growled. Yo jumped from her sudden approach. They aren't interested in you, me, Morty or Amidamaru. They came for Rukia and Ichigo, she muttered. Yo stared at her, then returned his attention to the two men. This is why I told Morty to keep Ichigo busy. What now, Lord Yo? Amidamaru whispered into his shaman's ear. We fight, Yo replied, and both Rukia and Anna stared at him in shock. Yo stood in front of the two females. We can't let them take our new friend. You mean Mr. Ichigo? Amidamaru asked. He may not be my friend yet, Yo said. But I'll still stop these two from going after him or taking Rukia. Yo and Amidamaru made eye contact, and Amidamaru nodded as he transformed into his spirit flame form, and Yo integrated with him. We shall not let you get your hands on Miss Rukia or Mr. Ichigo, Amidamaru said through Yo voice. The two Soul Reapers looked at each other, and the one that talked headed toward Yo with his Zanpakuto. Amidamaru looked around but saw no sign of a sword-like weapon anywhere. The man was getting closer, and Amidamaru to frantically search for something of good use, but there was nothing that could help. Amidamaru noticed the man was about to strike and braced himself for the attack as he couldn't escape in time. Just as the Soul Reaper's attack was going to make contact, Amidamaru shut Yo's eyes tight. When he felt nothing, Amidamaru opened Yo's eyes to see a large spear holding back the man's Zanpakuto. It seems you could use some help, said the man wielding the spear. He had dark purple hair with a part spiked up in the back and gold eyes, and was wearing a red sleeveless turtleneck vest with black pants and slip-on black shoes. He then threw a sheathed sword at Amidamaru. You should know how to use that. No, he rhetorically asked, and pushed the Soul Reaper backwards. Amidamaru unsheathed the sword and gripped it a bit tightly. He gazed at the sword's blade and smiled. Thank you, Lord Ren, Amidamaru had Yo say. Amidamaru and Ren could now clearly the Soul Reaper that attacked Amidamaru had long red hair tied back in a tight ponytail, tattoo-looking eyebrows, and he wore the same outfit as Ichigo plus a badge with the number 6 strapped on his upper left arm. It doesn't matter how many of you there are, the Soul Reaper announced as he pointed his Zanpakuto at both Ren and Amidamaru. Come at me, shamans. Ren and Amidamaru exchanged, looked and nodded, then charged towards the Soul Reaper at a high speed. Their speed is incredible, Rukia muttered as she watched them fight in awe. I've never seen a human run that fast. Anna let a smile grow on her face as she stood next to her. This is the result of Yo's intense training, she proudly said. Do you know what will happen if they get their hands on you or Ichigo? She asked, watching the three fight. They will kill Ichigo, Rukia muttered, watching Ren and Yo fighting back the Soul Reaper. Why, of all people, did Soul Society have to send these two? Anna gave Rukia a confused look, and Rukia realized her babbling got Anna lost. The man Yo, Amidamaru, and the other shaman is fighting, Rukia explained. He is my childhood friend, Renji Aburai. The other one just standing on the sidelines is my brother, Byakuya Kuchiki. Rukia sighed heavily and grabbed Anna's hands. Please, Anna, stop them and allow me to go with them, she begged. Anna retracted her hands and returned her attention to the fight. If I did that, she started. Yo and Amidamaru would never forgive me. Yo may have only known for a little while, but as he says himself, only decent people can see ghosts. So you and the other Soul Reapers must be somewhat decent according to his logic. Anna heard footsteps rushing towards them. Who the hell they? Anna and Rukia heard Ichigo's voice behind them. They turned to see Ichigo and an exhausted Morty beside him. Morty looked up, see Anna angrily staring at him. I tried to stop him, Morty defended himself, but if you haven't noticed, his is about 5 times my weight in size. Morty's attention drew to the clashing of metals. What's going on? He asked as he watched Yo and Ren fighting the red-haired Soul Reaper. Neither Anna nor Rukia answered him. Ichigo reached for his Zanpakuto on his back and was going to join the two shamans, but the Soul Reaper with shoulder-length, black hair, wearing a white, sleeveless, trench coat with black, large diamonds pattern and the number 6 on the back with a white scarf over a black kimono, Rukia identified as Byakuya, stopped him. Ichigo growled at him and Rukia became tense as she clenched her fists. Byakuya sent Ichigo flying across the graveyard. The sound of Ichigo crashing through tombstones caught the attention of both Amidamaru and Ren and gave Renji an open opportunity. Howl Zabumaru, Renji shouted. His Zanpakuto transformed from a regular-looking sword into a longer 6-part segmented blade with each segment begin wider than the one before. He attacked Ren and Amidamaru and threw them backwards past Rukia and Anna. Renji was going to finish off Ren and Yo, and Byakuya was slowly approaching Ichigo. "Please stop," Rukia begged, catching the attention of both Byakuya and Renji. "I'll go with you, but please don't hurt them." "Rukia," Ichigo uttered as he tried to get up. "Fine," Byakuya said. "Renji," he yelled, and Renji nodded and opened the gate to the Soul Society. Morty and Anna stood there feeling helpless as they watched Rukia being taken away by the 2 Soul Reapers. Rukia looked over her shoulders as Ichigo, but once she made eye contact she looked away and the gate closed, then vanished. After standing there for a moment, Morty's attention was drawn towards Yo's and Ren's groaning. Morty quickly ran towards them and saw Amidamaru leave Yo's body, and another ghost who looked like a former Chinese military personnel left Ren's body. The two had minor injuries compared to what Ichigo had. "Morty," Anna called out as she stood next to Ichigo. "Go get an ambulance, now." Morty ran to the nearest phone and had the ambulance arrive at the graveyard. When the ambulance arrived, Morty, Anna, Amidamaru and the ghost that left Ren's body watched the paramedics take Yo and Ren to the hospital. As the paramedics lifted Ren and Yo, their tablets for their ghosts fell out of their pockets and Morty picked both up tablets. Ichigo, being a spirit, allowed Amidamaru to carry him back to an inn and set him in a spare bedroom. Amidamaru, Morty and Ren's ghost partner, watched Ichigo as he gasped and coughed blood, and Anna searched through the inn's library to find a way to heal a wounded spirit. She found some ways and forced Morty and the 2 spirits as she tried healing him. After 5 minutes she found Morty and the 2 spirits moping in the dining hall. "We need to find his body," she ordered. "His body," Morty repeated. "Ichigo is a human that can become a Soul Reaper," Anna told them. "So he has a body, somewhere." "How are we going to find his body then?" Morty questioned her. Anna realized that Morty brought up a good point. The 4 of them sat on the front porch of the inn and wondered where Ichigo's body could be. As they were deep in thought, someone entered the inn's gate. The 4 looked up to see 2 men in front of them. One looked exact like Ichigo except dressed in a white t-shirt, blue jeans and white tennis shoes. The other man had light blonde hair under a bucket, white and green striped hat, wearing matching dark green pants and shirt under a dark gray-green coat with white large diamond pattern along the bottom half, and also wore traditional Japanese wooden sandals. He also carried a cane. "I think you are looking for this," the blonde guy said, hitting the guy that looked like Ichigo with the end of his cane. The Ichigo-looking guy fell face first to the ground and a gumball-looking thing came out of his mouth. Morty, Amidamaru and Ren's ghost all had their mouths wide open when they saw the guy collapse just by being lightly hit by the end of a cane. Anna, however, wasn't impressed. "Who are you?" Anna demanded to know. "How do you know we were looking for him?" Anna said as she pointed to the collapsed body. The blonde man flipped open a fan in front of his face. "How rude of me," he cried. "My name is Kazuki Urahara. I sensed Ichigo's spiritual power around here. This body here," he said, flipping the body with his foot so he was faced up, "belongs to Ichigo," he stated, looking at the 4 of them. "Where is the young lad?" "Follow me," Anna told him. He grabbed the gumball and put it in his pocket and then threw Ichigo's body over his shoulder. He followed Anna to the room they held Ichigo in. Morty, Amidamaru and Ren's ghost followed them but stopped right outside the room. "Basin," Morty said, looking at the depressed Chinese military general. "Are you going to be all right?" The Chinese military general just nodded. He then disappeared into his tablet Morty held in his pocket. "I guess we should call it a day then," Morty asked Amidamaru. Amidamaru nodded and disappeared in his tablet in Morty's other pocket. Morty they head off to bed and let Anna and the bucket hat man take care of Ichigo. Morty, Amidamaru, and Basin got up early the next day to see Yo and Ren in the hospital. Anna and Urahara would have gone, but Ichigo was in critical condition. Luckily Yo and Ren were allowed to see visitors and they were also sharing the same room. "Hey Yo, Ren," Morty said as he entered the room. "How are you 2 doing?" Yo and Ren's beds were next to each other. Both the shamans were sitting up on their own. Morty handed Yo Amidamaru's tablet and Ren Basin's. Morty grabbed a chair and put between the 2 beds. "I'm doing okay," Yo replied with his ridiculous grin. Ren huffed and Yo looked at him. "Thank to you, Ren and Basin," Yo added. "And you too, Amidamaru." If it weren't for you two I could have died by that Soul Reaper's attack in an instant. Yo noticed Amidamaru, Ren, and Basin looking more proud than his lil friend. Morty, you are the one both me and Ren should be thanking. If it weren't for you we could still be fighting for our lives. Yo is correct, Ren agreed. You are the one who got the ambulance. I guess you're not as worthless as I thought you were. Morty decided to take Ren's comment as a compliment. Thank you for saving Lord Ren, Basin said as he bowed to Morty, and for that I owe you one. I too owe you one, Lord Morty, Amidamaru said, also bowing toward Morty. Yo smiled as his friend was appreciated by not only him and Amidamaru but also Ren and Basin. Everyone was happy because everyone was alive and well in the hospital. What happened after we were knocked out? Ren asked, damping the happy moment. Renji and Byakuya, I think their names were. Morty started off. They took Rukia back to Soul Society while injuring not only you two but also Ichigo. Amidamaru brought him back to the Inn and almost immediately after we did a man with a bucket-striped hat appeared with Ichigo's body. As I speak he and Anna are trying to save Ichigo. Yo looked down at his lap as he clenched the sheets he was under while Ren just looked away. Morty sunk in his chair and thought of what he could talk about instead. The doctor says you can leave by Monday. He changed the topic. The two shamans didn't move or speak so Morty just sighed. Well, I'm going to see how Ichigo is doing, he said as he jumped off the chair and headed for the door. See you all later. After he left it was still very quiet. Lord Yo, Amidamaru broke the silence. He was worried about the Yo's angry expression. Ren turned his attention towards Yo and sighed. We were no match for either of those Soul Reapers, Ren stated as he crossed his arms and closed his eyes. This was proof that both of us need more harsh training before the second part of the Shaman King tournament begins. You're right, Yo sighed and fell onto his pillow. Come Monday Anna will put me through the harshest train yet and I take it on without complaints. Yo looked over at Ren. Ren noticed this and glared at him. What are you looking at? Ren snapped. How did you know they were called Soul Reapers? Yo asked as him and the two spirits looked at him confused. I've been doing research on them since I encountered one many years ago, Ren explained to himself. What happened? Yo asked, very interested. When I was younger I was attacked by a monster the Soul Reapers call a hollow. Ren started to explain. I was defenseless at the time and my high spiritual awareness made me the perfect target for a hollow. Right before the hollow attacked me a Soul Reaper saved me with his Zanpakuto. I still remember what he told me that day. Ren continued by telling the story. You okay kid? The Soul Reaper said. A younger-looking Ren let his arms down from his in front of his face and looked at the Soul Reaper. The Soul Reaper was knelt down and Ren saw he had spiky raven black hair with aqua-green eyes and he wore a black kimono with a badge with the number 13 on his upper left arm. He messed Ren's hair a little as Ren nodded. You don't have to worry anymore, he assured Ren. That thing is gone so you'll be safe now. What was that thing? Ren asked in his childish tone. It was a hollow, the Soul Reaper explained. You must have a strong spiritual awareness for it to go after you as well as you seeing both it and myself. What are you then? Ren asked with a curious look. My name is Kyan Shiba, he introduced himself and held out his hand. Ren shook his hand and the Soul Reaper smiled at him. I'm a Lieutenant Soul Reaper. That sounds really important, Ren said all excited. You must be like one of the coolest people I know. Kyan chuckled as he stood up. You kind of remind me of my little brother back home, he commented. Where is your home? Ren curiosity returned. In the afterlife, Kyan simply put it. We call as Soul Society. From there me, as well as other Soul Reapers, watch over the living world making sure people you have the same spiritual awareness you have and wandering ghosts don't get hurt by hollows. Wow, Ren said in awe. Well kid, Kyan said messing his hair once more. It was nice chatting with you, but I got to go back to work, bye. With that the Soul Reaper vanished in a second and Ren looked all around him with no sign of the lieutenant. I never got to thank him for saving him, Ren finished his story. Yo sighed and nodded his head slightly and then an idea popped into his head and he jolted sitting up. Hey Ren. Yo called for his fellow shaman's attention. What if we were being attacked by a hollow? Do you think that guy would come back so you could properly thank him? That is the stupidest idea I've ever heard of, Ren shouted. Yo thought the idea through for a moment and scratched the back of his head. Yay. I guess you're right, Yo admitted. But I'm sure you'll see him again one day. He lay back down on his pillow. And when I meet up with those two Soul Reapers again, they'll pay for taking Rukia and injuring us and Ichigo. Ren laid on his side not facing Yo, and the two shamans fell asleep and their ghost partners followed their example. Yo dreamt of fighting Renji again, but during his dream there was beeping as Renji talked to Yo. Yo opened his eyes to realize the beeping was coming from his oracle pager. How'd this get here? Yo wondered aloud. Anna brought it while you were asleep, Amidamaru answered him. Ren was awake and looked over at Yo. All finalists arrived to Karakura town by Tuesday, Yo read. Ren's pager then beeped with the same massage. Jun brought your pager while you slept, Basin answered before Ren could ask. Do you know where Karakura town is? Yo asked Ren. Ren just shrugged his shoulders and laid back on his side to fall back asleep. Yo pondered on why they needed to go to Karakura town by Saturday, but eventually he fell asleep on it. Monday morning came around. Anna and Morty just retrieved Yo and Amidamaru from the hospital. They were going to get Ren out of the hospital too, but he was already released. Ichigo and Urahara went back to their hometown Sunday afternoon. Once they got home, Yo headed up to his room with Amidamaru following. Morty made some tea as Anna waiting in the dining hall. When the tea was done, Morty brought it in 3 cups, and when he did, Yo and Amidamaru entered the dining hall. Morty passed a cup to Anna and to Yo as he sat down at the table. Where are you going with that? Anna asked, looking at the sword, known as Harusame, in its sheath that Yo brought down, and then she started to drink her tea. Yo drank all his tea before answering. I'm going to the second part of the Shaman King tournament, Yo told her. It's being held in a town called Karakura town. Morty just watched as Anna did nothing, which surprised both boys. Well, I better get going. Yo stuttered and got up from the table. I'm going with you, Anna told him as she finished her tea. Yo's once calm expression was now full of both fear and surprise. Don't you dare try to talk me out of going, she warned him as she stood up. Morty, she said, looking down at Morty as he drank his tea. Could you watch the inn while we're gone? Morty finished his drink and slammed the cup on table and stood up. I'm always stuck staying back, Morty cried. Not this time. This time I'm going with you guys. Fine, Yo sighed and gave in. You two can go with Amidamaru and me, but I'll be leaving in 10 minutes. He sat back down at the table as Anna and Morty headed upstairs. Morty came down first with 7 minutes to spare with a backpack packed with his important belongings. 6 minutes passed, so Yo, Amidamaru, and Morty decided to wait on the front porch for Anna. Yo pulled Amidamaru's tablet and stared at it. Hey Amidamaru, Yo said, looking up. Amidamaru floating beside him. Can you do me a favor? What is it, Lord Yo? Amidamaru asked. He held out the tablet towards Amidamaru. Stay in your tablet until I call you out again, he said in a low tone. Amidamaru did as he was told with no questions. Morty looked at Yo a bit puzzled, and Yo noticed this. Why'd you tell him to do that? Morty asked. It's to protect him from being sent to the afterlife, Yo answered as he put the tablet back in his pocket. After meeting Ichigo, who knows how many clueless Soul Reapers are out there? Speaking of Ichigo, where is he? He and Urahara left yesterday, Anna said as she came out of inn with a bag that wasn't nearly as packed at Morty's. Before they left, Urahara told me to stop by his shop in Karakura town anytime, and since you're going there I might as go with you. Yo got up and tied Harusame around his waist. Let's go then everyone, Yo said, leading everyone out the inn's gate. Right as they exited the gate, Yo froze and slowly looked over his shoulder at Anna. Which was his Karakura town? He nervously asked. Anna covered her face with her hand and shook her head in disgrace while Morty just sighed. It's northwest from here. The three turned to see Ren with his spear and basin. Next to him was a tall woman with green hair wearing a black Chinese dress with a long slit on the left side, and behind her was a little taller, buff, pale blue-skinned man with short, bushy, black hair and stitches on his arms. He wore black and with green lining clothing with the Dao name on the front and a pair of nunchakus on his back. Ren, Basin, Jun, Pailong, Morty said. They were surprised to see the four. What are you three doing here? We know how bad at directions Yo is, Jun explained, so we decided to see if he needed help get to Karakura town. Anna huffed and crossed her arms as she glared at the woman. Thank Jun, Yo said, scratching the back of his head. Hey Ren, Yo said. You might want to put Basin in his tablet. Why's that? Ren growled. Because he might accidentally get sent to the afterlife by a clueless soul reaper, Yo told him. Ren sighed and did as Yo told him, then put the tablet in his pocket. Now let's go to Karakura town, Yo exclaimed and led the way. Asakura, Ren called out. Yo looked over his shoulder at Ren. Karakura town is this way, he said, pointed toward the opposite direction as Yo was heading. Yo nervously laughed and headed that way instead. I knew that, he stuttered. I was just testing you. Now let's go to Karakura town. Moron, Ren muttered as he, Jun, Pailong, Morty and Anna followed him. Would Pailong be safe walking around with clueless soul reapers around? Morty asked, looking up at his movie star hero. He should be, Yo answered as he walked backwards. He's not a wandering spirit like Basin or Amidamaru, but Pailong is inside a body, so he should be safe. That's good, Morty muttered. After 6 hours of walking non-stop, they arrived in Karakura town. As the 6 of them started to explore the town, Anna halted the group in front of store. The store was clearly open even though it was in the middle of the night. This must be the place, Anna said, and she walked into the shop and everyone else just followed her. Welcome to Urahara Shoten, a familiar voice greeted us. Everyone looked ahead of them to see Urahara with a fan in front of his face and his bucket hat on. Oh. Anna, I didn't expect to see you here so soon, and with guests. How may I help you all? He asked with a sparkle in his eye. Do you know anything about the Shaman King tournament being held here? Yo asked. Urahara grinned and waved his fan. Has it been that long already? He chuckled loudly. Then the oracle pagers on Yo and Ren's right lower arms caught Urahara's eyes and his grin grew. I see the Patch Tribe has decided to use my invention to relay messages from the Great Spirit. Everyone looked at him with a puzzled or confused look. Sorry about my meaningless babbling, he said, waving his fan at them. Where's the samurai spirit? He asked in a calm tone. He's right here, Yo said, patting the pocket Amidamaru's table was in. I see, Urahara said. You don't have to worry about them being sent to the afterlife in here. Yo and Ren released Amidamaru and Basin from their tablets. So you all came here for the Shaman King tournament. Urahara got back on track. Surprisingly, you guys came to the right place without being told. You were to get directions to come here in. Urahara looked at the watch on the wall. In about 2 hours. Ah well, I guess you will get to hear about the next part of the tournament. Follow me, Urahara said, leading them to the back of his shop. Urahara opened the door to shore and the group entered. Then something called Urahara back to the front of the store. Yo and Ren leaned their weapons against the wall behind where they sat. Yo sat between Anna and Morty, with Amidamaru sat behind him. Pailong sat next to Morty and Jun, who sat next to Ren, with Basin behind him. When Urahara came back, he had 5 people with him. One was a tall guy with the weirdest hairdo and a wooden sword in his hand, wearing exaggerated 1970s fashion of a white suit over a dark shirt with oversized collars, cuffs and lapels, plus pointy shoes. Behind him was a spirit that looked like a lizard human with white pants and lower bronze amore on. Another was a boy with long blue spiky hair wearing a white and blue skiing outfit, dark blue shorts and skiing shoes, with a little tiny girl with black, shoulder-length hair with bangs wearing what looked like a robe sat on the snowboard the boy carried. The final person was a girl with long light blue hair wearing a pink, zipped-up jacket with a black shirt and pink snow boots. The boy and man leaned their snowboard and wooden sword against the wall behind them. Hey Ryu, Tokajiro, Horohoro, Kororo, and Perka, Yo shouted. What are you guys doing here? He asked as they sat down. Perka sat next to Anna with Horohoro next to her, and Ryu sat next to him. Kororo sat on Horohoro's shoulder and Tokajiro sat behind Ryu. Urahara sat between Ryu and Ren. We saw you guys heading down the road, Horohoro explained. Then when you disappeared, we saw this place open and asked if anyone saw you, and then we were told to come back here. Now I think that is everyone, Urahara said. Now to tell you what you need to do for the second part of the Shaman King tournament. This town constantly attacked by hollows, which are monsters that attack spirits and those who have a strong spiritual awareness and eat them. Your task is to destroy these hollows and protect all the spirits and those with a strong spiritual awareness. Urahara put 4 cell phone-looking devices on the table. These will help you track the hollows, but don't depend on them solely. You should first trust your own spiritual awareness along with your partner Ghost's instincts. Oh, I almost forgot, The hollows will attack and eat your spirit partner if you allow it to happen. Yo, Ren, Horohoro and Ryu all grabbed a cell phone as Urahara continued explaining the tournament. The only way to defeat a hollow is to your oversoul, if you don't then you're sunk. These hollows are special and they come to existence once every 500 years, especially for the Shaman King tournament. They can only be defeated by a shaman's oversoul. The 4 cell phones started beeping. It has begun. The other shamans shall be arriving here soon. Urahara stated and crossed his arms. Everyone got up and head out the door. Hold it. Urahara called out and everyone froze at the door. All of you who are not participating in the tournament are to stay here for safety. Oh, and one last piece of advice. Attack the hollows in the face. That is their weak point and the element of surprise will also prove helpful. Yo, Ren, Horohoro and Ryu grabbed their weapons and left to explore the town. Anna, Morty, Perka, Jun, Pailong and Urahara watched the 4 with their spirit partners at their said venture into the town. Now what do we do? Morty asked once the guys were out of sight. You can help take care of my shop, Urahara suggested. Or you can help supervise a training session that is happening below my shop. They all looked at Urahara's disorganized shop and they all chose to supervise the training. Urahara led them to the back once more and lifted up a trapdoor with a ladder leading down with no end in sight. Does that ladder lead somewhere? Morty asked looking down the hole. Yes, Urahara said. Start going down and you will find it. Morty gulped and was first to go down, followed by Pailong, then Jun, then Perka and finally Anna. They reached what looked like an underground desert with some tall hills and a huge hole in the middle of the room. Morty and Perka examined the room in awe, but the amazement of the huge room under a small store was broke by a blood-crying scream from the huge hole. Urahara joined them with his cane at hand. Still screaming, Urahara said and led the 5 to the hole. Inside was Ichigo with a chain link slowly diminishing towards his chest. How are you doing down there, Ichigo? Urahara yelled into the hole. How am I doing? Ichigo screamed up to him. I swear if I survive this, I'll kill you. By the time his training session is over, this part of the tournament should be over, Urahara told the 5 of them. Thanks for watching him as I inform the arriving shamans. You might want to make small talk to him to keep him calm. He then went back up to the ladder. Hey Ichigo, Morty yelled standing at the edge of the hole. It's me, Morty. How have you been? How have I been? Ichigo repeated with anger. I'm dying down here if you haven't noticed. Morty was freaked out by Ichigo's response and slowly backed away from the hole. Anna and Pailong continued to watch Ichigo suffer while Perka and Jun sat on a nearby rock. Amidamaru, let's get to work, Yo shouted. Amidamaru turned into his ghost ball form and Yo unsheathed Harusame. He integrated Amidamaru into the Harusame and jumped onto a rooftop. He ran across the roof and jumped of attacking the hollow below from behind in the head. Not far away another hollow appeared and Ren was not far from it. Basin, Ren yelled and Basin transformed into his ghost ball form. Ren integrated Basin into his spear and appeared face to face with the hollow. He quickly defeated him with one swing of his spear. Element of surprise, Ren huffed and headed off to another hollow. Who needs it? Kororo, into the snowboard. Horohoro yelled as the little girl integrated with the snowboard attacked to Horohoro's feet. Horohoro climbed onto a roof then jumped off it towards the back of a hollow. An icicle formed at the bottom of his snowboard and attacked the hollow in the back of the head. One down, Horohoro said watching the hollow disappeared. More to go, he muttered and surfed on the snow his snowboard formed. Let's take care of this big and ugly, Tokajiro, Ryu said facing by far the largest hollow on the other side of town. Tokajiro formed into his ghost ball form and integrated with his wooden sword. After a couple of difficulties, Ryu was finally able to defeat the hollow. That wasn't too hard, he said as he checked the cell phone Urahara gave him. Ryu, Tokajiro said from the wooden sword. I sense something like the hollow we just faced about half a mile southeast from here. Ryu put the cell phone in his pocket and followed Tokajiro's directions. Mr. Urahara, Perka yelled up from the foot of the ladder. Be down there in a minute, Urahara responded. Instead of him coming down, 3 other people climbed down the ladder. One was a girl with long, black hair with a purple tint in pigtails with pink ties parted down the middle, with 2 strands of her bangs in the middle of her face. opposing each other, and she wore a white t-shirt with the Urahara Shoten logo in pink print and a knee-length, pink skirt with white dots. The second one down the ladder was a boy with short red hair and wore a white t-shirt with blue pants that were rolled up to mid-cafe height with 2 white stripes going down each side. The last decline was tall, muscular, lightly tan-skinned man with black hair as corn rolled and a large handlebar mustache. He wore a pair of rectangular-shaped glasses with a white muscle shirt, regular pants and a blue apron. Urahara still has last-minute arrivals to inform, the girl said in a very soft tone. My name is Ururu and this is Jinta, she said pointing to the boy. And this tall man is Tessai. We help Urahara run his shop. He sent us down here, Jinta said, because it is taking him longer than he thought to get rid of the last of the shamans. He walked over to the hole and looked down at Ichigo. How you doing? He shouted, and Ichigo responded in a loud scream. That's good to hear. Would any of you like something to eat or drink? Tessai offered. I would like some herbal tea, Anna said and joined Jun sitting on the rock. I would as well, Jun said. Anyone else? Tessai asked and no one responded. Okay, 2 herbal teas it is. Tessai climbed back up the ladder. Jinta approached Morty and stared long and hard. You very short, he pointed out. What's your name? Morty, Morty growled as his face turned red from anger. Morty, Jinta repeated. Sounds a lot like Shorty. Morty clenched his fists as he got more mad watching Jinta rolling on the floor laughing. Morty was going to beat Jinta up, but someone placed their hand on his shoulder. He looked up to see Pailong's hand on his shoulder and he shook his head. Morty took a deep breath to calm himself down. Jinta, Ururu muttered as Jinta continued to laugh. It's not nice to make fun of people's names. But it is so funny, Jinta laughed. Tessai then came back down with Anna and Jun's tea and walked over to Jinta. What is so funny? He demanded to know. Jinta is making fun of Morty, Ururu told him. Tessai then grabbed Jinta's by his shirt. Hey, let go of me, Jinta yelled as he dangled in the air. I'll get him out of your hair, Tessai said. I'm apologize for him. He then carried Jinta up the ladder and the two didn't come down after that. Jinta is always like that, Ururu explained to Morty and Pailong. I'm used to it. Then there was silence. I wonder how Ichigo is doing, Ururu said as she looked into the hole. Ichigo was laying on the ground. The only reason we knew he was alive was because his body moved slightly. At least he is still alive and is still a soul, Ururu muttered. A half an hour later Urahara was seen climbing down the ladder. That is the last of them finally, Urahara said once he reached the bottom. Now who called me? I did. Perka shouted at him. What does killing hollows have to do with shamans? Urahara grinned as he tilted hat. It is supposed to test the spiritual awareness of a shaman and their trust in their partner, Urahara explained. Then why did you give out those cell phone-looking devices? Morty asked as he approached Urahara and Perka. The cell phones are programmed to count how many times a shaman depends on it to find a hollow, Urahara explained once more. The devices are also programmed to count how many hollows a shaman kills. Hey, can you guys shut up? Ichigo yelled from down in the hole. I would like some peace and quiet while I try to survive down here. Urahara walked over to the hole and looked down to see Ichigo concentrating as the chain connecting to his chest slowly became shorter. Morty, Pailong, and Perka looked into the hole as well. Soon he shall either become a hollow or a soul reaper, Urahara said, which caused everyone but Ururu looked up at him. This part of the tournament is the shortest since there are so little hollows and so many shamans. Usually the ones who pass this test are the ones who have destroyed at least 10 hollows. How many hollows are there to begin with? Morty asked with a shaky voice. Usually the average is about 150 or so, Urahara said. And the average number of shamans passing this test is 12. That is if they are fast enough. Morty got worried, but the 3 girls and Pailong remained cool and calm. Urahara tipped up his hat forward and went up the ladder once more. No one spoke until Ichigo cried out from the hole, now it's too quiet. So far we've destroyed 4 hollows, Yo said as he ran through alleyways. We're on a roll, Amadamaru. He stopped and turned around and ran in the direction he just came from. He ran toward a playground where a ghost child was running away from a hollow. Yo ran toward the hollow and attacked him head on. Yo destroyed the hollow and walked up to the ghost child. It's not safe here. The child was frightened as he hid from Yo behind the playground structure. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. The child peeped out from his hiding spot. Come with me, I'll protect you. He held out his hand. The child was about to go over to Yo but froze. Yo looked behind him to see another hollow. Yo used Amidomaru's shield, which was created due to the integration, to block the hollow's attack. The attack pushed Yo backward and jumped at him in the face and sliced the hollow in two. Yo landed in front of the child and smiled at him. The child smiled back and slowly disappeared, causing Yo looked around for the kid. Lord Yo, Amidomaru called out from Harusame. I believe the child went to the afterlife. Yo agreed with Amidomaru, and the two headed off into town. That makes 7, Ren claimed as he finished off another hollow. This is too easy. Master Ren, Basin called his shaman's attention from the spear. I think someone is in trouble. Ren looked around and found out who Basin was talking about. He ran over to an alleyway where 3 hollows were chasing a little girl ghost. The girl hid behind Ren and he jumped towards the hollows and stabbed them all at once, destroying all 3. Ren turned around and saw the girl wasn't behind him anymore. There are still more of them out there, Ren claimed. He continued going down the alleyway and ran into one more hollow. Too bad you had to bump into me, Ren said with an evil grin. He jumped into the air and sliced the hollow with one slice. Horohoro dusted himself off with a huge pile of snow behind him and a hollow arms sticking out. The arms started to move and hollows emerged from the snow. Horohoro glared at the hollows. I guess that avalanche wasn't enough, he said in a low tone. He jumped into the air and spun around on his snowboard and icicles hailed down on the hollows. Horohoro landed safely on the ground while holding his snowboard up. 8 down, and it only took an avalanche and a hail of icicles, Horohoro said, grinning, and headed off east toward a river bank where more hollows were. They were picking on a spirit boy. Hey you, Horohoro called out to get the hollow's attention. Leave him alone, ugly. The hollows exchanged glances and charged towards Horohoro. Horohoro smiled as he charged at the hollows. Ryu, look out behind you, Tokajiro yelled from the wooden sword. Ryu swirled around and attacked the 2 hollows behind him with one swing. That wasn't too hard, Ryu claimed. Ryu sensed something and followed it into an abandoned warehouse. A frightened female ghost was being surrounded by hollows. Hey, why don't you pick on somebody your own strength, Ryu yelled. The hollows turned towards him and shrugged their shoulders at one another and went after Ryu. Ryu smirked and eventually slashed all of the hollows' heads. It took him 10 minutes, but he got through them, and he did it with only a couple of damages done to him. Ryu walked over to the female ghost and stood in a heroic pose. You are safe now, miss, he said, bowing towards her. You may now go to the afterlife. Thank you, young man, she said, smiling before disappearing. Ryu smiled to himself and gracefully walked out of the warehouse. So far we've gotten 6 hollows, not bad, Ryu said to himself confidently. He heard a rustle from a nearby bush and cautiously walked past it. A hollow jumped out and tried to attack Ryu from behind, but by it got close, Ryu already got him. 7 is good too, Ryu stated, and he continued walking. Time is up, Urahara said, looking down at his watch. He, along with Anna, Jun, Morty, Perka, Pailong and Ururu, stood by the hole Ichigo was in, and then something jumped out of the hole. Anna, Morty, Perka, Jun and Pailong all stared in disbelief at a Soul Reaper with a hollow mask stood in front of them. Then the Soul Reaper broke and took off the hollow mask with his busted-up Zanpakuto. You should have prayed I hadn't survived that test, Ichigo growled, pointing his broken Zanpakuto at Urahara. Urahara smirked and opened his fan and started to wave it. The Great Spirit in Soul Society will send messages to those who pass to return here, Urahara said to Morty, Pailong, and the girls. Now Ichigo, let's go straight to lesson number 3, shall we? You're going to wish I never passed lesson 2, Ichigo growled with an evil grin. Amidomaru and Yo couldn't sense any more hollows, so Amidomaru escaped Harusame and Yoshith Harusame. The two eventually saw Ren and Basin, who was no longer integrated into Ren's spear, in front of them, with Ren seeming to use his spear like a walking stick. Hey Ren, Yo called out. Did you get the message too? Red nodded, and Yo and he walked together with their spirit partners close behind. They walked all of Karakura town until they finally found Urahara's shop. He's in there, Ren said in a low voice and Yo's eyes narrowed. Hey Ren, Yo, where's Ryu? Horohoro asked as he approached them from across the street with his snowboard strapped to his back and Kororo floating beside him. Where is Ryu? Yo wondered aloud. Yo and Horohoro started looking in random spots calling out Ryu's name. They even crawled under the shop and in the dumpster. Amidamaru and Kororo watched them search with Ren and Basin. What are they looking for? Ryu asked as he walked up to Ren and the spirits with Tokajiro beside him and holding his wooden sword. They're looking for you, Ren said, and they stood still for a moment until Ren jumped back realizing who was next to him. Hey there you are Ryu, Yo said climbing from under the shop with Horohoro climbing from the dumpster. Now that we're all here, shall we go? Ren led the way and everyone followed him. Organizing the shop was a little girl and at the cash register was a tall mall. You must be here to see Mr. Urahara about the tournament, she said in a soft tone. Follow me, she ordered and led the four to the back room where they were before and opened its secret hatch with a ladder. He is waiting for you guys down there. The boys exchanged glances and they nodded. Horohoro went sliding down the ladder first and then it was Yo, Ryu and finally Ren. When they reached the bottom, Horohoro was blowing on his red burnt hands and Yo and Ryu laughed at him. Yo, Morty called running towards Yo and the guys. Horohoro, Perka yelled followed him. Anna and Jun continued sitting on the rock near the huge hole but you could see that both had a sly smile on their face. Hey Morty, what are you doing here? Yo asked with his goofy smile. Morty avoided eye contact and started mumbling, all we did was basically babysit. There were more shamans beside Yo, Ren, Horohoro and Ryu. It just happened that they were the last four to arrive. I wonder if Faust made it this far, Yo wondered aloud in a soft tone. Everyone turned their head toward the sound of clapping hands. Hello, for those who don't remember my name is Urahara, Urahara announced. You're all probably wondering where the next part of the exam is. Well then you're looking at the wrong guy, because I have no idea, he said rubbing the back of his head and laughing nervously as he watched all the angry shamans glare at him. So I guess you guys can just relax in Karakura until you are summoned to the guy with news. Everyone groaned and one by one they all left the basement of the store. Where's Ichigo? Yo asked once it was just Urahara and his friends. He left with some friends, Urahara said. He'll be back, so don't worry. Almost a month until the Oracle Pagers finally sent the qualifying shamans a message. Ryu, Tokajiro, Kororo and Horohoro were enjoying the sights of Karakura town, but they also training every so often, or whenever Perka found them. Yo, Amidamaru, and Morty hung out and relaxed after Anna's training that made it feel like there wasn't going to be time to relax. Ren and Basin trained on his own while Jun and Pailong watched at a safe distance. All training with the shamans stopped when the Oracle Pagers sent the message saying, Karakura High School at 5 p.m. Where's Karakura High School? Morty asked looking at Yo's Oracle Pager. A shadow cast upon Yo and Morty and they looked up to see Ichigo in a white button-up shirt and dark blue pants. Why would you want to know where Karakura High School is? He asked with a confused look, then he studied the Oracle Pager on Yo's right arm. Ichigo, it's been a while, Morty said with cheerful look. How have you been? I'm doing okay, he said then changed his look at Yo and Amidamaru. So what's going on at Karakura High School that I don't know about? We just want to see the town's high school. Yo quickly made up an excuse and nervously chuckled. Could you take us there? Ichigo scratched the back of his head and groaned. It took 5 minutes to get there and when they did other people were waiting at the gate opening of the courtyard. Ichigo looked at each person and one person looked familiar to him. Hey, I remember you, Ichigo said pointing at Ren. Your guy with the spear, the one that helped Yo out when 2 Soul Reapers came after Rukia. Yep, that's him, Yo said with a goofy smile. Then he saw someone that looked like the Soul Reaper that he and Ren had fought that night. And that guy looks just like him, Yo growled as he glared at the guy with long red hair tied back in a tight ponytail, tattoo-looking eyebrows wearing a yellow t-shirt under a brown vest and blue jeans as he stood in front of all the shamans. Yay that Renji, Ichigo muttered scratching the back of his head. He's not that bad now that his head is on straight. He and I kind of became friends while I was away, Ichigo said then nervous laugh. Well I got to go, promised my father I would help him out today, he said and left the school grounds waving his hand. Morty, Yo muttered. I think you should go tell Anna that I won't be able to make it to our date. Morty gulped as Yo gave him a serious look. Then Yo's look was a cheerful one. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. It's not you I'm worried about, Morty stuttered and Yo looked at him a bit confused. It's telling Anna you are going to stand her up that worries me. Morty's knees started shaking. Don't worry, you'll be fine, Yo said and shoved Morty off the school grounds. I'll see you later, he yelled, waving bye as Morty left, slowly dragging his feet. Yo went back toward Ryu, Ren and Horohoro and all the shamans gathering around the Soul Reaper Ren and Yo fought about a month ago. Are all the qualifying shamans present? Renji yelled across the courtyard and got yes as a response. Good, my name is Lieutenant Renji Aburai. I am here to tell you about the next part of the Shaman King tournament. He pulled a piece of paper from his vest and unfolded it. He showed everyone a picture of a woman with long brown hair parted at the side, narrow eyes, wearing a large collar black shirt with a red tie and a vest. This woman is referred to as a Bount. She is the only one that is known for the moment, but there are very likely many more. Each Bount, we found out, has a doll, a partner, which has a certain power. For example, her doll's power is fire. For this part of the tournament you are to find every Bount you can and destroy them before they destroy you. The only way you can do that is by going full force at them. Renji folded the picture and tucked it away. How do we pass this part of the tournament? Horohoro asked and everyone started mumbling amongst each other. Only those who are able to defeat a Bount are promised to continue, Renji answered. What does killing these Bounts have to do with the Shaman King tournament? A male voice asked from the crowd. Renji searched for who asked the question but could find them. These Bounts are now eating living souls, Renji said. And isn't part of being Shaman King protecting the living? Plus I'm sure they try to eat your partners as well. After that all the shamans except Ryu, Ren, Horohoro and Yo left. Ren and Yo were glaring at Renji as he walked toward them. Hey, I remember you too, he said, recalling the incident. Glad to see you two are okay. Ren and Yo continued to glare at him, causing Renji scratched his head and sighed. I guess our first encounter wasn't that pleasant, but I'm willing to forgive and forget if you do. Ren huffed and turned away while Yo rolled his eyes at Ren and smiled. Sure, it's forgiven and forgotten, he said, and Ren glared at him now and shook his hand. So about these Bounts, Yo started to ask. How are we supposed to find them? Beats me, Renji said, shrugged his shoulders. I'm just here to tell you the second part of the tournament. He started to leave and then suddenly stopped and faced them. Urahara might have something that could help. He has everything a Soul Reaper, or in your case a shaman, would need for anything. How do we get to Urahara's from here? Yo nervously asked. Follow me, Renji said. I'm heading there anyways. Yo, Amidamaru, Ryu, Tokajiro, Horohoro, and Kororo looked at each other and nodded as they followed Renji to Urahara's. Shoten and Ren and Basen eventually followed Renji as well. When the Yo, Amidamaru, Ren, Basen, Ryu, Tokajiro, Horohoro, Kororo, and Renji entered Urahara's Shoten, they were led to the back room once more by the little girl from before. Anna, Morty, Perka, Jun and Pailong were all sitting at a round table with Urahara, Ichigo, and 3 other people. Anna glared at Yo, causing him to tremble in his sandals. Amidamaru, Basen, Tokajiro, and Kororo followed closely behind their shaman, with Amidamaru, Basen and Tokajiro in the ghost flame form. So you 4 passed the second part, Urahara said, fanning himself. Please, sit down. The 4 guys set their weapons against the wall and joined the group with Spirit next to them. I assume you 4 are here to find a way to find the Bounts? All 4 nodded with a shocked look on their face. Well, you're in luck, these 3 right here can sense a Bounts presence, he said, pointing to the 3 people Yo didn't recognize. One was another little girl with short blonde hair and bright blue eyes, wearing a pink, fur-trimmed coat, with a black bird-shaped cape, and red boots, a man with a gray top hat and his left half of his hair blonde and right half black, and he wore a white button-up shirt with a gray tie under a multicolored suit and boots. The last person was another man, wore a fur coat and a zippered hood, which was open and showed his red hair and turquoise eyes, and on his back was a blue shield. Do you 3 mind introducing yourselves? Urahara asked them. The little girl stood up and announced, My name is Ririn. The man with the top hat stood up and bowed and said, My name is Cloud. Both he and Ririn looked over at the man in the hood who didn't bother to say anything but zip his hood up to hide his face. And that is Noba, Cloud sighed. Noba unzipped his hood and muttered, "Hi," he didn't zip it up again though. Urahara. Anna caught his attention along with everyone else's. Why are you helping Yo, Ren, Ryu and Horohoro, but not the other shamans? Good question, Urahara said, fanning himself some more. But I have no idea, I just follow orders. Plus, they're the only ones asking me for help. Oh, that reminds me. Urahara walked out the room. The sound of drawers closing and opening and rummaging were going on in the shop. Urahara returned with an envelope in his hand. This is for you, Yo. A man that looked like you asked me to give it to you when I saw you. Yo studied the envelope, but there was no name besides his on the envelope. He ripped it and everyone hovered behind him. I'll read it aloud if you guys want, Yo told them, and everyone returned to their seats and listened to Yo read. Dear Yo, it's been too long since we have last seen each other. Hopefully the help you're receiving will help you get through this part of the tournament. After the last of the weaklings are plucked off, then you and me can finally be united and rule this world together as Shaman King. I wait for that moment, and maybe that fiancé of yours could help you become strong enough to survive before our meet, and before you face the bounce. Oh, by the way, I already destroyed one. Hopefully you can handle one before they all die. Your brother, how psi will have some of my followers test you, so be prepared. Yo reread the letter in his head. I have a brother, was the first thing that escaped Yo's mouth. Anna hit him over the head for the stupid outburst. That doesn't matter, she yelled. What matters is that he is after you for a reason. But why? Morty asked, taking the letter from Yo and rereading it. All it says is, you and me can finally be united and rule the world together as Shaman King. But what does that mean? Anna went to her thinking position. Morty, Perka, Jun, and Pylong, Anna said in a cold tone. We're going on our own little mission on. We'll meet up with the rest of you later. Yo was dumbfounded but nodded. Yo, Ryu, Ren, and Horohoro got their weapons, walked out the shop's entrance with their spirit partners, Ichigo and Renji, both in their Soul Reaper form, along with Noba, Cloud, and Ririn. Anna, Morty, Perka, Jun, and Pylong were heading off as well until Urahara stopped them. Anna, Urahara called out, and Anna looked at him. Before you go, I would like you to meet my closest friend Yoruichi. A woman with long purple hair in a ponytail with yellow piercing eyes, wearing an orange jacket with 2 white straps on each shoulder over a black turtleneck shirt, along with a large beige sash around her waist like a belt with black stretch pants and long beige wrist and leg warmers, secured by bands with brown light shoes, stood beside him. If it is all right with you, she would like to accompany you on your little mission. Anna gave her a quick studied and agreed to allow her to come along. She led her group southwest. Yo, Ren, Ryu, Horohoro, Ichigo, Renji, Noba, Cloud, and Ririn were all wandering town aimlessly until a firewall appeared in front of them. Wow, Horohoro shouted out, a bit surprised. Where did the wall of fire come from? The fire slowly died down, and on the other side was the woman from the picture Renji showed with a fire monster next to her. She slowly walked up to the guys but stopped as she realized Ryu was walking towards her. She started singing as he got closer to her, and then Ryu's expression went from serious fighter to lovesick puppy as he continued walked toward the woman. Ryu, what are you doing? Tokajiro asked, still in the ghost ball form, and tried to stop his partner. That woman is a Bount, Ririn yelled. That fire monster must be her doll. Really? Ren sarcastically said, pointing his spear at her. I would have never known that if you hadn't told us. You too, Yo said, looking at Ren with a surprised expression. You mean you did realize she was a Bount? Renji screamed in Yo's face. Weren't you listening to me as I was explaining the third part of the Shaman King tournament? I even showed you this exacted Bount and you still didn't know she was a Bount. You were showing us a picture of a Bount, Yo said, piecing the puzzle together. I thought you were showing everyone your new girlfriend and that she was as hot as fire or something like that. Yo nervously laughed and rubbed the back of his head as Renji's face turned red. Yo, Ren said, grabbing Yo's shoulders to get his attention. How do you expect to become Shaman King when you don't even listen to orders? I didn't know they were orders, Yo defended himself, and plus I was hungry and all I could think of was food. How can you guys fight each other at a time like this? Ririn yelled, crossing her arms. Surrounded by morons, Ichigo thought as he shook his shame and watched Ren shake Yo vigorously and Ririn bickering at them. When do you think they'll realize that their friend is in serious trouble? Cloud asked Noba, and Noba answered by shrugging his shoulders. Lord Yo, Amidamaru called out, still in his ghost ball form. Lord Ren, Basin said, trying to get Ren to calm down from his ghost ball form. Guys, Horohoro screamed. Hey guys. Ren stopped shaking Yo and he fell to the ground, and everyone looked at Horohoro. Master Yo, are you alright? Amidamaru cried as he floated beside Yo, who nodded. Shouldn't we be fighter her and before she steals Ryu's soul? Horohoro yelled, pointing at the Bount. We thought you were going to handle it, Ren said, standing his spear straight up. After all, she is a fire user and you are an ice user. Sound like an interesting match if you ask me. I just thought you guys would have wanted to help save him, Horohoro said as he held his board. But I guess I was wrong. Come on Kororo. Kororo integrated into Horohoro's snowboard. Hold on Ryu, Yo yelled, trying to get up but fell forward on his face. We'll save you, he yelled to the ground. Renji, Ren, Ichigo, Cloud, Noba and Ririn all stare at him, then at Ren. Is he always like this? Ririn asked Ren. Unfortunately, Ren groaned and blushed slightly from embarrassment. Amidamaru, let's go save Ryu, Yo yelled with his face still plants to the ground. Ren, Cloud, Renji, and Ririn shook their heads and sighed. Ichigo sat down and watched Horohoro attack the woman. At least one of them cares about that loser, he thought. Come on Noba, Cloud cried out, run towards the Bount. Let's help the snowboarder out. How? Noba asked and got Cloud to stop. Well, Cloud started to think. I hadn't really thought of that part yet. But helping out is better than just stand here and watch. Noba sighed and shook his head. Ririn heard Cloud and saw Horohoro and fighting the Bount. Hey, should you guys be helping him? She asked, point to Horohoro. Fine, Ren sighed and held out his hand and Basin appeared. Basin, into the spear, he yelled, integrating Basin into his spear. Good luck, Renji said, joining Ichigo in watching the shamans fight. Ririn's eye twitched as she stomped towards Renji and Ichigo. You two aren't helping, she growled. Nope, Renji calmly stated as he put his hands behind his head. Soul Reapers are not allowed to mess with the Shaman King tournament unless someone else messes with it first. Ririn clenched her fist and bared her teeth. Noba and Cloud quickly held her back before she attacked Renji and Ichigo. Yo slowly got up and shook his head. He looked up to see an unconscious Ryu but saw his chest rising, so he was still alive. The woman fell to the ground unconscious. Right then and there an idea popped into Yo's head and he dashed in of her, causing Ren and Horohoro to stop their attacks. What are you doing, Yo? Ren yelled at him. Why are you saving her? Renji, Ririn, Cloud, Noba, and Ichigo all stare at Yo, wonder what was going through his mind. Because, Yo started to explain, you don't seem that bad to me. Everyone was shocked by his answer. Are you crazy, Yo? Horohoro hollered. She tried to kill Ryu. Yes, she did try, Yo recalled. But she didn't, and she also didn't really put up a good fight. Also, if she really wanted to take Ryu's soul, she would have done it while we were distracted. What are you getting at? Ren demanded to know. Let's take her to Urahara's for questioning, Yo suggested. Ren and Horohoro looked at each other and nodded. Bozan and Kororo left their shaman's weapon and watched as their shamans each grabbed one of her arms and dragged her all the way to Urahara's. Noba threw Ryu over his shoulder and carried him to Urahara's. Ichigo and Renji led the way, and Yo, Ririn, and Cloud covered the back with the 4 spirit partners. They could have killed her and be in the clear, Renji thought as he looked behind him at the Bount. They must trusted Yo's decision to keep her alive, but why? Yo is very convincing and he can be smart at times, Ichigo said, looking over at Renji. On the other hand, he can be very odd and completely clueless. Ichigo chuckled as he saw Yo with a goofy smile. I don't know which he is right now though. Yeah, Yo screamed as he was surrounded by a table of food in Urahara's back room. I'm starving, he exclaimed and dug into the food. So when do you think he will wake up? Horohoro asked the other guys as they watched Yo lying in the corner of the back room in Urahara's shop. Everyone else was sitting at the table. I didn't know Lord Yo sleep talks, Amidamaru said. I've never seen a marshmallow so big in my life, Yo said, trying to eat his pillow. Is he always like this? a man with glasses and short raven black hair wearing a button-up, white shirt and dark blue pants. Yay, Ren answered, and then he realized he didn't know that man. Who the hell are you and why are you here? He's Uryu Ishida, Ichigo answered from him. He's in my class. I am also the last remaining Quincy, Uryu added. Congratulations, Ren muttered. Now why are you here? The woman you spared, he started explaining. Saved me from another bout and I feel like I over won. The guys then heard groaning from the room next door. Ichigo got up and opened the door so show that the woman bound had gained consciousness and was sitting up on her own. Well, aren't you the lucky one? Ichigo said in a gloomy voice and sat back down. Huh, the woman said looking around and at the guys in the other room. Where am I? How'd I get here? Why am I still alive? She frantically asked as she got out of the bed and grabbed Ichigo and started shaking him. Knock it off, Ichigo yelled as his forced her to let go. You're in Urahara Shoten and you got here, via Ren and Horohoro, but order of Yo. He explained pointing at Ren, Horohoro then Yo. Yo is only the reason you are still alive. Yo, she repeated as she looked at the boy eating his pillow. Everyone stared at Yo with disgusted looks as they watched him with his pillow halfway down his throat. How does he do it? Ichigo mumbled, scratching the back of his head. Since we answered your questions, Ren said, drawing everyone's attention away from Yo. It only makes sense that you answer ours. Yay, Horohoro agreed, crossing his arms. Like for starters, what's your name? A bit taken by surprise, she chuckled a little. My name is Yoshino Soma, she replied, joining the guys at the table. Okay Yoshino, Ren said, crossing his arms. Where are the other bounts, and why have you all decided to take living souls? Yoshino looked away and muttered, I'm sorry, I cannot answer that. Oh come on please. Everyone heard Yo yell in his sleep. His pillow was completely gone. Not even just a little bit. Is he talking about food or this? Renji thought as he looked at the sleeping shaman. Hey, where'd the pillow go? Yoshino looked at Yo and chuckled again. I guess I should tell, since I'm not going to last much longer, she muttered to herself. Everyone returned their attention to her with a shock expression. What do you mean by that? Ryu was the first to ask. You're going to face the other bounce by yourself. Yo yelled, jolted up, knocking his head against Renji's. Whoa, sorry Renji didn't see you there. Were you listening to us this whole time? Horohoro asked, a bit freaked out. Of chores I was, Yo replied in a serious tone. We were all eating, actually I was eating and you guys just talked. Anyways, you were all talking while I ate my giant marshmallow. Yo explained, but then started to look around him as Renji walked away from him. Hey, guys, where'd my pillow go? Everyone but Ren, Renji, and Yo laughed at Yo's question. Ren slammed his fist on the table, getting everyone's attention. Tomorrow, Ren started to say. We'll face the other bounce tomorrow and you. Ren pointed at Yoshino. You will show us the way, no detours and no traps, got that? Yoshino sighed and gave a slight nod. Okay, it's settled, Yo said in a cheerful tone and started looking around the room. Now will someone help me find my pillow? I'm going to head home, Ichigo said, getting up. Cloud, Nova, Ririn, you three are coming with me. You too, Uryu. The three looked at Ichigo a bit confused. Urahara has assigned another job for you guys. These shamans found there was to the bounce, now come on. We'll see you all tomorrow, Ichigo said, leaving with Uryu, Cloud, Nova, and Ririn. Well, we should get some sleep, then, Renji suggested as he got up. Tomorrow will be a long and dangerous, I assume. He left the room, and Yoshino returned to the room she was previous in. Where is my pillow? Yo said. Horohoro and Ryu sighed and shook their heads, and Ren just left from the room to go to bed. Horohoro, did you take my pillow? Yo asked, looked at Horohoro oddly. No, why would I want to take you pillow? Horohoro screamed. Ryu, Yo said, changing his odd look to Ryu. I would never, Ryu claimed. Yo pouted, then an idea popped into his head. I know what happened to my pillow, he claimed, and both Horohoro and Ryu looked at him surprising. Renji took it. No, you ate it, Horohoro screamed at the top of his lunges. Oh, no wonder why I'm not hungry, Yo said, rubbing his stomach. Well then, what am I to sleep on? You figure that out, Horohoro said as he went to the same room as Ren and Ryu went to the same room as Renji. Amidamaru called it a night as he entered his tablet in Yo's pocket. Yo was lost in thought until a slight creak caught his attention. He went to the shore part of the shop and saw that the front door of the store was still closed. What could have made that noise? Yo pondered as he checked everyone in bed and realized that Yoshino wasn't in hers. Amidamaru, Yo said under his breath, and Amidamaru appeared from his tablet as Yo grabbed Harusame and the two left the store. Anna, where are we going? Morty complained as he dragged his feet up the hill. Yo's grandfather's house, Anna replied, still leading the way. He lives at the top of this hill. He can help us find out about this How person hopefully. Both Morty and Perka were getting exhausted. Anna, can't we rest for a moment? Perka asked, trying to catch her breath. No, Anna sternly said. Why not? Perka and Morty whined together. Because we are almost there, Anna said, pointing to a house that was just a jump, a skip, and a hop away. Morty and Perka's eyes widened in delight as they raced toward the house, cheering. Anna, are we really here to find out about How? Jun questioned, and she and Pailong stood beside Anna. Yay, Yoruichi said as she stood on the other side of Anna, watching Morty and Perka run towards the house. We're here to find out everything about How. Who he is and who he was. What? Jun said, confused. What do you mean, who he was? How has reincarnation himself twice, Yoruichi explained. He was born a little over 1,000 years ago, then again a little over 500 years ago, and just over a decade ago. In the past 2 lives he tried to become Shaman King. In this reincarnation his soul split in 2 halves as How, and Yo has the other half. How wants to get rid of everyone who isn't a shaman. This includes humans, the Quincy, even soul reapers if they get in his way. Is that why he wants Yo? Jun asked her. And why he said that they will be united to rule the world together as Shaman King? Yoruichi nodded. How are we going to help Yo then? We don't know yet, Anna answered and walked toward the house. That is why we're here, to ask Yo's grandfather what we should do. Yoruichi followed Anna. Jun, Pailong said, and Jun looked up him to see he was looking at the forest left of them. What is it, Pailong? Jun asked. Anna and Yoruichi froze in their spots, and then Jun sensed it too. What is that great power? Jun, Anna, Yoruichi, head inside, Pailong ordered. Jun hesitated and Yoruichi grabbed her and Anna and headed for the house. Master Yo, Amidamaru whispered as he floated in his spirit ball form beside Yo. Where are we going? We're following Yoshino, Yo whispered, then peeked his head from behind a wall. Now keep it down or she might hear us. Amidamaru nodded and stayed close to Yo and stayed quiet. Yo followed Yoshino to a huge abandoned mansion. He approached it, staring at the land and building in awe. Wow, this place is huge, Yo complimented, forgetting that his was following Yoshino and what he told Amidamaru. Yo! Yoshino shouted as she heard and saw Yo behind her. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here, it's too dangerous. Then why are you here? Yo asked, crossing his arms. I'm here because there is something that I must do, she yelled at him. Okay, Yo said calmly. He grabbed her wrist and led her away from the mansion. You can do whatever it is, after you're fully healed. Yoshino pulled her hand away and Yo just turned and looked at her. No, she said with a serious look. I must do it now. Fine, Yo sighed. If you need to do whatever it is now, then I'll go with you. But, no buts, Yo said, and Amidamaru transformed to his normal form. I've decided that we're going with you and there is no turning back now. Amidamaru, get inside your tablet, just in case. Amidamaru disappeared into the tablet Yo held in his pants. He grabbed her wrist one more time but led her towards the mansion instead. Once they were inside, the front room light up and there were 10 silhouettes of people surrounding the perimeter on the room. Well, one of the silhouettes said. The one that spoke walked so his face could be seen. He had white-haired, red eyes and wearing a magenta shirt with a black collar under a brown suit jacket with black pants and orange ties stood right in front of them. Yoshino, he spoke towards her. How nice of you to return and with a friend, no doubt a shaman, I see. His eyes narrowed at the sight of Yo and Yo's eyes narrowed right back at the guy. Gerda, Yoshino called out, and fire monster Yo saw before appeared, which freaked out Yo. Yo, stay back, Yoshino ordered. Go Gerda. The fire monster flew towards the white-haired guy. All the guy did was stand there and chuckled. and then suddenly both Yoshino and Yo were on the floor with their arms twisted behind their back and the fire monster disappeared. The white hair guy walked up towards them and kneeled down in front of them. "Throw her in the dungeon," he ordered, and the person holding Yoshino down forced her up. "I'll deal with you later," he said as he got up and walked away. "What about the shaman?" the person holding Yo down asked. "Kill him," the white hair guy said, walking away. "His kind is a dying race anyways." Both Yo and Yoshino struggled to get free, but the people holding them were too strong. Yoshino was dragged and tossed into the dungeon with the door slammed behind her. She ran towards it and tried to open it. "Gerda," she called out, and her fire partner to burn the door down. When the flames died, Yoshiro realized that it was fireproof. "Yo," she muttered as tears slowly escaped. "I'm so sorry." "Amadamaru," Yo said under his breath as he was forced down a hall. "Go get help." The person behind him pushed him to the floor and he passed out after he said that. He had used too much energy trying to get free that it was easy for him to go unconscious. Amadamaru escaped his tablet and floated above Yo from a safe distance and watched in horror as Yo was being dragged by his hair. "It's no fun killing someone who's unconscious," the guy dragging Yo groaned. Amadamaru quickly raced back to Urahara's to get help. "So that is the shaman's partner," a young male voice said from the shadows. "I say we get rid of him," another young male voice said from the shadows as well. "And we must get rid of his friends that he is probably getting too," the first voice said. "Good idea, Ban," the second voice said. "Jin will be very pleased with us if we succeed." The two followed Amadamaru all the way to the shop from the shadows. Amadamaru didn't notice them until it was too late. "Who's there?" he demanded to know with fear in his voice. "Don't worry, samurai spirit," said the second voice. As he came out of the shadows appeared a boy with a baseball cap over his short black hair. He wore light brown sweatshirt over a yellow undershirt, dark gray shorts with the pant legs rolled up and an evil grin on his face. "We'll make sure you join your partner in the next world, along with your other friends," the first voice said. A boy with a white hat with long black hair and wearing the same clothes as the other boy walked into the light beside the other boy. The two were identical except for their hair and hat. "Who are you two?" Amadamaru yelled loudly, hoping it would wake up someone inside. "I'm Ho," the boy with the baseball cap said. "And I'm Ban," the boy with the white hat said. Then two water spheres with what looked like a bottle cap floating inside floated behind them. "This is the end of you and your friends," Ho said. "Go Gull." "You too, Gunther," Ban called out. Amadamaru's eyes widened in horror. He was only a spirit, and without Yo he couldn't do anything, not even defend himself. The two water spheres rushed towards Amadamaru. "Kaukau Priwinpi," a familiar voice called out. Huge chunks of ice flew past Amadamaru from behind him and aimed right at the two water spheres and the two boys. Amadamaru looked behind him to see Horohoro on his snowboard with Kororo integrated inside along with Ryu, Tokajiro, Ren, Basen, and Renji. "Amadamaru, are you all right?" Tokajiro asked, appearing next to him. Amadamaru just nodded with a sigh of relief. "Amadamaru, where's Yo?" Ren asked sternly as he approached the samurai with Basen beside him. Then Amadamaru remembered why he came straight here. "Yo's in trouble," he told them. "He and I followed Yoshino to a mansion on the outskirts of Karakura, and then they put Yoshiro in a dungeon and they plan to kill Yo once he gains consciousness." "Then it looks like we've got no choice," Ichigo said in street clothes, coming towards the shop with Ririn, Cloud and Noba. The two water spheres reformed behind the twins as they recovered from the blow. "These two must be here to stall. Our best bet is to get past them and have Amadamaru lead us to the mansion as soon as possible." Everyone nodded and agreed to the plan. "Then let's go," Ichigo ordered. Popped a gumball into his mouth and his Soul Reaper form popped out. "Who are you?" Pailong yelled at the silhouette person that continued to walk closer and closer. Pailong got into his fighting stance and reached slowly for his nunchakus. A tall man with shoulder-length, black hair wearing a white, sleeveless, trench coat with black, large diamonds pattern and the number 6 on the back with a white scarf over a black kimono. "Answer me," Pailong demanded as his eyes narrowed. The man stood only a yard or two in front of Pailong, unafraid and with no emotion on his face. "I'm here to speak to Anna Kiyoyama," he said as a cold tone. "Tell her it's Captain Byakuya Kuchiki of the 6th Company who wishes to speak to her." Pailong stared at Byakuya. "Wait here," he ordered as he headed for the house. He returned shortly after with Anna and Yoruichi. Anna examined the captain and walked right up to him. "I remember you," she said, standing just a foot away from him. "You fought Ichigo while your partner fought Ren and Yo to get Rukia. What do you want now? As you can see, Rukia isn't here." Byakuya handed Anna a book. This book was kept secret in Soul Society, he explained as Anna opened it. Inside is all the history of Hao, including all his crimes in Soul Society as well as on Earth. He is the only soul to escape Soul Society to be reborn with the same memories. Then a black butterfly flew around Yoruichi and Pailong, then around Anna. Byakuya extended out his right index finger and the butterfly landed on it. After a moment the black butterfly flew away and eventually disappeared. "You better hurry," he advised the girls. "Yo is in trouble. His friends are on their way to save him, but they are facing their own trouble. I doubt they will have a chance of winning and saving Yo at the same time." After saying that, he disappeared back into the forest, leaving Anna in shock. "Anna," Yoruichi said in a soft voice as she placed her hands on Anna's shoulders. "Everything's going to be all right," she assured him, but Anna didn't respond, just simply walking into the Asakura's home. Yoruichi and Pailong just followed without speaking another word. "Man, do I have a headache," Yo groaned as he sat up while rubbing his forehead. He looked at his surroundings and nothing but a door, 4 solid walls and a barred-up window. "These bounce sure know how to make a guest feel welcomed," he remarked in a sarcastic tone. Yo looked out the window and then something caught his eye. "Is that?" Yo asked himself out loud as he saw buildings with icicles in it from the view of the window. "Horo, I thought he was fast asleep when I left him," Yo said, and realized the Amidamaru must have gotten him up. The door behind Yo slammed open and Yo quickly turned around and see someone in a black kimono, like that of a Soul Reaper. "You're conscious," the Soul Reaper said. "Come with me," he ordered, and Yo quickly got on his feet. "Damn those 2 brats." Ichigo cursed as Uryu followed him. "Uryu," Ichigo yelled, looking behind him. "Why are you here?" "Your fight woke me up," Uryu yelled. "I decided to join so I could get back to bed." Ichigo stopped dead in his tracks and looked at the Quincy. "What's your real reason for following us?" he demanded to know. The twins were gaining up on them. Ren and Ryu appeared in front and delayed them for the moment. "Get a move on it," Ren yelled at the boys. Amidamaru stopped to give Ichigo and Uryu to catch up. "I question your logic, Kurosaki," Uryu said as they ran with Renji, Horo, Kororo, and Amidamaru in front of them. "What about my logic?" Ichigo asked, a bit annoyed. "Right now we are trying to get away from 2 bounce, right?" Uryu asked. "Yay, what's your point?" Ichigo asked, wondering where he was getting at. "If we are trying to get away from 2, he repeated himself, "then why are we just held straight towards the others?" Ichigo sighed as he realized Uryu was right. Horo, Renji," he called, and Horo and Renji looked back at him. "I'm going to get more help. Come send someone once you reach the mansion if I'm not there," he told them before ran off to a different direction. "Okay," Horo said and continued running with Uryu catching up. Ichigo searched most of Karakura until he spotted a girl walking down an alley with long orange-brown hair. "Perfect," Ichigo thought as he landed in front of her. The girl had a hair clip on each side of her head and wore a white t-shirt with a pink stripe going across her large and pink pants. "Orihime, I need you to do me a favor," Ichigo told her as he caught his breath. The girl gulped but then nodded. "Please find Chad, then find my spiritual power." Before she could reply, Ichigo vanished. "Hang on, Yo. We'll save you from the bounce," Ichigo thought as he tried to find Amidamaru, Uryu, Renji, Horo and Kororo. "So why do you want to kill me?" Yo asked, but the Soul Reaper ignored him. "Fine, don't answer me. I'm used to talking to myself. Or at least everyone thinks I talk to myself when really I talk to spirits." "Will you shut up?" the Soul Reaper yelled in Yo's face. "I can't wait for you to die." "Why didn't you kill me while I was unconscious?" Yo asked once they started walking again. "Because it would be no fun," the Soul Reaper said, looking over his shoulder to show Yo his grin. "I hope Amidamaru was able to find help in time," Yo said in his head. "Hello, shaman," said the man with short white hair once Yo and the Soul Reaper entered the entrance room on the mansion. "You should have stayed unconscious, then maybe you wouldn't have to meet your end. Just like us bounce. You shamans are a dying breed." Yo glared at him as he clenched his fists. I think he'll miss that fighting spirit of yours the most. Maki, you may now kill him. The Soul Reaper forced Yo to his knees and made him put his face to the floor. Then the Soul Reaper drew his Zanpakuto and placed it on Yo's neck. Wait, Yo shouted. Don't I get one last request? Oh, the white hair man replied a bit surprised. What would that be? What is your name? Yo asked looked at the man how sat on a throne-like chair in front of him. Is that all? The man asked with disbelief and Yo nodded slightly. My name is Jin Karya. I am leader of the bounce. Okay Jin, Yo said. I'm ready now. Go on Maki, Jin ordered. Goodbye shaman. Shouldn't we go back to Karakura to save Yo? Morty yelled at Anna standing up once she told them the news. By the time we get there, Anna said in a calm tone and was silent for a moment, we wouldn't make a difference. How do you know? Morty yelled. Stop it Morty, Perka cried. Anna is probably the one hurting the most by this news. Pailong, Jun said to her servant, do you think you can reach Karakura in time? I can try, he told her. Enough, Yoruichi yelled and got everyone's attention, including the old couple watching the young ones bicker amongst each other. Pailong and I will return to Karakura to see if they do need help. The rest of you read the book Byakuya gave us. We will return if we are not needed, got it? Fine, Morty groaned as he crossed his arms and sat back down. Before you go, the old man said and walked towards Yoruichi with a something wrapped up. Give this to Yo. He'll know what to do. Yoruichi nodded and she and Pailong ran back to Karakura town. Yoruichi tried to sense Ichigo's spiritual pressure once they got closer to Karakura town. Found him, Yoruichi said as she ran with Pailong beside her. Follow me, she ordered and dashed off. Pailong was barely able to keep up as they ran through Karakura town. Wait, Yo yelled then looked up at Jin who looked irritated. What is it now? Jin groaned. I already answered your last request. I wanted to know your name because I thought you were going to kill me. Yo looked up at the Soul Reaper with black hair and narrow yellow eyes. So what's your name? The Soul Reaper just stared at him then at Jin. Jin sighed and then nodded. Maki, he muttered. Okay, Yo said and looked back down at the ground. I'm truly ready now. Maki raised his Zanpakuto and Yo shut his eyes tight waiting for the moment. I'm sorry Anna, Yo thought and his life started to flash before him. Yo heard the Zanpakuto getting closer but it seemed to take forever, like time was slowing down. Yo took a deep breath and waited for a minute. Yo looked over his shoulder to see Maki frozen from the neck down in ice. Lord Yo, Amadamaru cried flying towards his shaman. Are you alright Yo? Horohoro asked running to him as he carried his snowboard with Kororo next to him. You guys made it, Yo said surprised. Barely, Renji said staring at all the bounce then staring at Maki. It seems that the Shaman King tournament has been tampered with. Yo got up and dusted himself then looked at Jin. Well since I'm here might as well get this part of the tournament over with, Yo said and reached for Harusame but couldn't find it. Where's Harusame? You mean this, a woman with tan skin, long, dark teal hair wearing a purple-pink, Chinese-style top with beige pants said as she walked from the shadows holding Harusame in its sheath by the string that tied it to Yo's waist. I took his from you while you were sleeping just in case. I'll say we run for it, Horohoro whispered to Yo. Ren and Ryu might need our help. Yes shamans, Jin said still sitting in his chair. Run away, it's not like you get any stronger before we find you again. I won't leave without Harusame, Yo growled. Then an arrow of energy passed them and headed straight towards the woman holding Harusame. The woman dodged the arrow but the arrow was able to cut the string. Yo ran towards Harusame and caught it. Good aiming Uryu, Horohoro yelled. But I thought we sent you to go get Ichigo? You did, Uryu said and Ichigo entered the building, and I found him. Hey Ichigo, Yo said. I hate to break up this reunion, Renji said as they crowded in the middle. But do you really think you two can take on all these bounce? He's got a point, Yo said and Horohoro knew exactly what Yo was thinking. Let's get to work, Kororo, Horohoro said and Kororo re-entered his snowboard then Horohoro strapped the snowboard to his feet. Horohoro grabbed Uryu and Yo's wrists and yelled. Avalanche! Snow filled the mansion and Horohoro snowboarded down the snow hill dragging Uryu and Yo behind him. Ichigo and Renji use a technique that the Soul Reapers in Soul Society called Flash Step and followed Horohoro back to where Ren and Ryu were. "Where you guys going?" a male voice asked. The gang stopped to see Ren, Basin, Ryu, Tokajiro, and Noba with a girl with long orange-brown hair and a tall, buff, brown-skinned man with shaggy brown hair that covered his left eye. "Orihime, Chad," Ichigo yelled, looking at two people Yo and Horohoro didn't recognize. "I thought I told you to find me." "You did," Orihime said. "But we ran into them on our way and the tall one needed to be healed and the short one was having trouble fighting 2 against 1. "What happened to those twins?" Horohoro asked, remembering that they ditched Ren and Ryu with them. "With Chad and Noba's help," Ren explained. "Ryu and I were able to figure out how to defeat them." "You didn't kill them, did you?" Yo asked. "Sorry, Yo," Ryu said. "But those bounts were going to kill us if we didn't kill them. Plus that is the goal of this part of the tournament," Renji reminded them. "In order to continue you must kill a bount." Yo looked down depressed, then gasped as a shocked expression appeared on his face. "I almost forgot," Yo said. "Yoshiro, she's in that mansion, why I was there. We got to go save her." Suddenly the oracle pagers went off and Ren, Ryu, Yo and Horohoro looked at their message. "What's it say?" Amadamaru asked, looking over Yo's shoulder. "Renji forgot to tell us something important," Ren said, glaring at Renji. "What?" Renji shouted. "I did no such thing." Renji ran through his speak. He told all the shamans. "Oh, yes I did. We're supposed to be in groups of 3 so we stand a chance against the bounce," Ren said before Renji could. "Well that shouldn't be too hard," Yo said as he realized who was a shaman. "Wait, there are 4 of us. Looks like one of yous has to find 2 other people," Ren said, slightly leaning on his spear. "Or we could split 2 and 2 and each only have to find 1, Ryu offered. "I like Ryu's idea," Yo stated. "Me too," Horohoro said, and he and Yo stared at Ren. "Fine, we'll go with Ryu's idea," Ren gave in. "But I refuse to be teamed up with him or you." Ren pointed to Yo. "Then I guess you're teamed with Horohoro," Yo stated. "Making Ryu and I partners, and now we both better find a third person." "What happens if we don't?" Amadamaru asked. "You're disqualified if you don't find a third person once the last bount dies," Renji muttered. "Then let's hurry," Yo ordered, and he and Ryu with their spirit partners went in the direction towards the mansion. Ren and Horohoro went in the opposite direction with Kororo and Basin. "What are we supposed to do?" Orihime asked, feeling useless. "We can't do anything," Renji said, crossing his arms. "Isn't there anything we can do?" Chad asked. "No," Renji said, closing his eyes. The 5 of them stood there for a while until Renji's eyes jolted open. "You, Quincy," Renji called out. "Do you remember the person who Horohoro froze?" "Yay, and my name is Uryu," Uryu growled. "Whatever," Renji groaned. "Was that person a Soul Reaper?" Uryu thought about it for a moment and nodded. "Why does it matter?" Uryu asked. "Then I was right," Renji growled. "With a Soul Reaper teaming up the bounce, even 3 shamans won't be enough." "What?" Ichigo shouted. "Then how were Ren and Ryu able to defeat the double duo?" "Luck," Orihime thought aloud. "With a Soul Reaper teamed up the bounce," Renji explained. "The bounce may have the upper hand." "How?" Ichigo asked. "Soul Reapers deal with souls," Renji started to explain. "And bounce eats souls to live, and if the soul had a high spiritual awareness they become stronger. So can that Soul Reaper get the bounce souls of people with high spiritual awareness?" Ichigo asked Renji as he looked over at Uryu, Orihime and Chad. "I have ever seen that Soul Reaper before," Renji admitted. "But to be on the safe side we'll assume he can, meaning that we have the right to interfere with the Shaman King tournament." "What do you do now?" Orihime asked. "We will be protecting those living with high spiritual awareness," a male voice said behind everyone. Everyone looked to see a short boy with turquoise eyes and short, spiked, white hair wearing a black kimono with a white, sleeveless, trench coat with black, large diamonds pattern at the bottom and the number 10 on his back and a sash across his chest that held his zanpakuto sheath in place on his back by tying the sheath to it at either end. Along with him were 3 males and 1 female, all dressed in the Soul Reaper uniform. The female had long, wavy, ginger hair, icy blue eyes and a beauty mark located below her lips. She wore a necklace and a pink scarf over her shoulders along with badge with the number 10 worn on her uniform's sash, and her carried her zanpakuto on her back as well. One of the males had narrow blue eyes and shoulder-length blonde hair with part of it covering his left eye, and he also had a badge with the number 3 strapped on his upper left arm. The second male wore an orange piece of clothing sits on top of his uniform around the neck, covering his chest exposed by the kimono connected to an orange sleeve on his right arm under the looser sleeve of the uniform. On this male's face were colorful feathers on his right eyelashes and eyebrow, and he had blue tint, jaw-length hair with purple eyes. The last male had short black hair and narrow black eyes along with 3 straight scars over his eye that lead down to his right cheek, and on the other cheek he has number 69 tattooed, as well as a blue striped tattoo running across his left cheek and over the bridge of his nose. This man's Soul Reaper uniform also wore a choker around his throat and a matching armband on his right arm, a badge with the number 9 strapped on his upper left arm. Captain Toshiro Hitsugaya, Renji said, surprised, looking at the short boy, then at the woman and the 3 other males. Lieutenants Rangaku Matsumoto, Izuru Kira, Yumachika Yasugawa, and Shuhei Hisagi, what are you all doing here? I just explained that, Hitsugaya growled. We're here to protect living people like you 4, he said, pointing at Ichigo, Uryu, Orihime, and Chad. So you found out about the Soul Reaper? Renji asked, crossing his arms, and Hitsugaya just nodded. Captain Byakuya Kuchiki told us about him, Hisagi said. That's not all, he said. Pailong's voice was heard. He and Yoruichi approached the group. He told us that Yo was in trouble. That is why we're here, Yoruichi said, holding something wrapped up. To give Yo this, and we thought he would be with you, Ichigo. You just missed him, Ichigo said, then pointed in the direction Yo and Ryu headed. He headed that way with Ryu. How the hell are we going to find him now? Yoruichi groaned. Can't you sense his spiritual pressure? Renji asked her. Yoruichi frowned as she scratched the back of her head. No, she groaned. It wasn't enforced to be learned when I was in Soul Society. I'll take you then, Renji groaned and headed the same way Yo and Ryu left, with Yoruichi and Pailong following. You 4 better not let your guard down, Hitsugaya warned Ichigo, Orihime, Chad, and Uryu. This part Shaman King tournament has become way out of hand, and we don't need it to get any more whacked. Many shamans have dropped out, and their reasons being that either the bounts are too strong or one of their teammate was killed by a bount. We have been officially authorized by the Patch Tribe to interfere with the tournament, Hisagi announced. And we are also given authorization to be allowed around shamans, but we are not allowed to send their partners to Soul Society. Seeing how you know who and where Yo and Ryu, 2 registered shamans, Kira said, looking at Ichigo. I guess you've broken the rule of staying away from shamans, and I'm surprised you're still alive. Usually when a Soul Reaper first breaks that rule, they are sentenced to death. You haven't met Yo's girlfriend, Ichigo muttered under his breath. What did you say about Anna? Rukia's voice spoke as she pushed herself through the Soul Reapers. She was dressed in the black kimono and her zanpakuto strapped around his waist. Rukia, Ichigo stuttered. What are you doing here? I'm here to help, Rukia stated. Now what did you say about Anna? The way she treats people is worse than death, Ichigo complained. I'm surprised Yo's still alive. Then there were 7 different screams coming from 7 different directions. We better check those screams out, Hitsugaya announced. Ichigo, Rukia, can you check on those 2 other screams? Will do, Captain Hitsugaya, Rukia answered. Sure, Ichigo responded with little interest. What about us? Orihime asked for her, Uryu, Chad and Noba. Go home, Hitsugaya ordered. But, Orihime tried protesting, but Noba bit his in on her shoulder and shook his head. Noba, Ichigo said to get the Silent One's attention. Make sure they all make it home safely, and once you get back to Kon, Ririn, and Cloud, make sure they haven't messed up anything. Noba nodded and pulled the shield from his back and motioned Uryu, Chad and Orihime to go inside, and eventually the 4 disappeared. Now let's go find out who was screaming, Hitsugaya ordered, and the 7 Soul Reapers split up. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.